Monday night edition of the Anaheim Calling podcast. We're back after a little bit of a hiatus. We missed one game. It feels like a lifetime ago now that we did a podcast, but we just missed one game. We hope that everyone had a fantastic Thanksgiving. I know I sure did. I was eating leftovers as of this morning. So that's how it's done, Jake. Just letting you know.
There are still leftovers in my fridge.
Yeah,
there's still them.
That's how it's supposed to be. I would even argue, and this might be a little bold, that Thanksgiving leftovers are better than actual Thanksgiving night meal.
Ooh, that is bold. Well,
I don't think it's that bold though. I think the silent majority agrees with me on that one.
Real quick shout out. I just saw something in our Twitch chat. I'll come back to a comment on you. The Shadow Siren's watching from the East Coast and saying it's almost 1 a.m. Sleep is overrated. So shout out for you for tuning live with us. Thank you.
Well, thank you, but also get your sleep. Yes. Sleep is very important.
Sleep is. It is. But
great.
Leftover turkey sandwich, very good.
Yeah, if you make a sandwich with turkey and stuffing, that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. That
it's a clue, I guess, also on the East Coast. No. Why stuffing in the sandwich?
All right, let's move on here.
Why?
We've already done the Thanksgiving food debate. We're in the month of December now.
By the way, quick question.
Hell, we got to get into Christmas debates now.
Quick follow up question for you. Did you have any pie?
Nope. Proud of it. The funny thing is, everyone like the way everyone interpreted my words in the last podcast is interesting because I never said I.
Let's hear it.
Pie.
Let's hear it.
I never said I hated pie or disliked it. I just said I've never tried it and I don't really plan to.
That is not what you said.
That doesn't mean hate.
Someone please go back.
Hate is a strong word.
Someone please go back and do one of those things where people clip record their phone and the audio from it of whatever Felix said about pie. And
I definitely didn't say I hated it. I definitely did not say that. That is just false.
Please, someone tweet at me and tweet at Felix with that. I will be very appreciative.
That's an outright lie.
Felix.
Outright lie.
Felix,
Sorry.
Be careful what you say.
Okay. Hey, whatever. I'm proud of my record.
But
I'm proud of my record.
Update for me for pie. I had some good pumpkin pie on the weekend.
Well, good for you.
Yeah, it was good.
Happy for you.
It was good. Some whipped cream on it.
Lewis X 209 jumping in the chat. Pie isn't that spectacular. Thank you. Like, we can be civil about this. God, I was pie shamed for a whole weekend on Twitter. People were just letting me know I am eating pie right now. I hope this hurts you. It's like,
that's what you get for saying you think pie isn't that great or something along those lines. Whatever you said right before Thanksgiving.
Look, yeah, I mean, timing wise, could that have been done better? Should I have waited maybe a month before? I don't know. We'll never know. But given that we took Thanksgiving off and the subsequent day, Black Friday off, we have 2 Ducks games to talk about. We're basically just going to blaze through the Ducks Jets matinee affair on Friday because the Ducks, it looks like the way they played, they just barely rolled out of bed. Didn't bring a whole lot of energy into that game and a bit forgettable. So we're just going to blitz through it really quickly here. The Jets won that game 3-0. The Ducks being shut out, of course. And again, just generally looking a little listless. The first goal of the game would come off of Neil Pionk on the power play. Really another one of those plays where you're wondering, if the Ducks are necessarily fully alert. I mean, you've got 4 guys all puck watching. The puck goes back to the point, and Pionk is able to get all of it. He slams it through traffic, and it goes by John Gibson. Absolutely nothing that John Gibson could do there. That was in the second period. Halfway through the second period, halfway through the game, the Jets would extend their lead. Nikolai Ehlers would get one from the slot. And again, this was another one of those just seemingly mental lapses. Somehow Ehlers was able to just be totally uncovered in the slot. Now, it was a nice play by the Jets to drive to the net and kind of create that lane, but again, he's left all alone. That's just never a good look. That would make it 2-0. And then in the third period, where the Ducks were out shooting the Jets, and they weren't necessarily playing a bad game, they let one in from Kyle Connor that essentially sealed the deal. And this was early in the third period, and it just felt like the game was over. This was Kyle Connor from the slot, and Corbinian Holzer just completely forgetting Connor. Just a total lack of awareness by him, by Brendan Gooley. That would make it 3-0, and that would pretty much seal the game. So that's the rundown of the goals, but what are your overall impressions of that matchup?
Yeah, it wasn't the best game for the Ducks. They just really didn't do a great job of creating any high danger looks throughout the game, and really kind of the biggest kind of thing that was poor for the Ducks in this game was their power play. They really weren't able to generate anything on it. So, I don't really know if I have a whole lot more to say about that Jets game. Everyone in our Twitch chat is kind of asking for us to skip it at this point. You have anything else you want to add to it?
I do want to mention to everyone who's clamoring for us to skip this that I offered to Jake to skip this one, and he was like, no.
Hey,
let's talk about this first.
I did not say talk about it. I say we should, for our own sake, at least just talk about the game and go through it quickly.
Okay, fair enough. One last thing I did want to mention. Yeah, the Ducks didn't play all that great, and they were shut out, but this was not a terrible game from this team by any means. They had a good second period, got a lot of shots on net. There were some decent individual performances, but yeah, overall just not a game that they will remember. So that'll be it for that. Let's get over now to tonight's game, the first edition of the Freeway Face-Off this season. Now, in previous years, the Freeway Face-Off, the matchup against the LA Kings, it's been a meaningful playoff implication type matchup because both teams have been perennial playoff teams. This season, though, and I guess even going back to last year, it's taken on a bit of a different tone. So just for you as a fan, Jake, do you still feel amped up when these two teams play each other, or is it more branding at this point?
I think it's a mix. I think it's a mixture of branding. I think it's a mix of... I think no matter what, there's a certain hatred that takes you back to when these two teams were kind of going at it full speed. I don't think we'll get to that level again until both teams are kind of in the fight for playoffs and all the different things. But I think no matter what, there's always going to be something when you see the Ducks jersey and the Kings jersey on the ice together that's kind of going to make you, not your blood boil, but get you up for it as a fan, kind of in the same way as before. It's honestly, for me, it's kind of in the same way as Detroit. Even though Detroit's been in the East for so long, anytime I see the Ducks in Detroit play, it kind of brings back the memories of it. And I think that it's similar with the Kings right now, and both teams are kind of in their spot. But I think there's always going to be the bad blood between the fans. I think that's going to kind of drive the rivalry, and it seems like that's going to push it forward.
No, just for myself on the outside looking in, I kind of had the same way where I initially was not really thinking much of it. And as the game progressed, it actually turned into a fun, competitive game. Honda Center sounded pretty loud from the television screen. It just seemed like there was a good atmosphere in this one. And it didn't devolve into games that we've seen between these two teams in the past where it's just a bunch of fisticuffs between whistles, but the play itself is kind of choppy. This was actually kind of a fun hockey game overall. There was a lot of action, a lot of up and down play. I actually think the Kings, they don't have a whole lot of talent. They're last in the Western Conference, but they do have, I think, at least an interesting style because they try to push the puck up the neutral zone quite a bit with those stretch passes. And so it just makes for an interesting game in both senses because when they turn it over, you see the Ducks getting chances, and when the Kings pull it off, well, then there's some action going the other way as well.
Not try to jump ahead too much, but late in the third period, we saw the teams kind of trading chances.
Yeah. It almost felt like two fighters at the end of a round where everyone kind of knows what the points are going to be, and they just start swinging away. So it was fun to watch, and maybe the most fun thing to watch out of all of them, Derek Grant, 2 goals tonight, and he opened
elite first line center, right?
Elite first line center. He now has more goals than Evgeny Malkin and Tyler Seguin. He's only 2 behind John Tavares. The guy is just undeniable. He also happens to be out on the ice for seemingly every empty net goal situation. Yeah. Not to put an asterisk on his accomplishments, but
how many empty net goals does he have this season?
I think he has 2.
Well, the third goal for his hat trick was one of them. I think he has maybe 1 or 2 more outside of that one in tonight's game.
He at least has 2.
He definitely at least has 2.
So a couple of notes, though, before we get into the recap. Some interesting news over the weekend and this morning. So Jacob Larsson, after another dud of a performance against Winnipeg on Friday, was sent down to San Diego in light of the Gulls matchup on Saturday night. And it seemed as though maybe this was just going to be a situation where he got sent down and called back up. But as time went on, Sunday, no corresponding move. Questions started to be asked, and we got somewhat of an answer on Monday morning where it was reported that Josh Manson is skating with the team. He was at the optional skate, still not a full practice, still no contact, but he's been skating more and more by himself, and now he's skating with the team. So the Ducks did not call back up any other defensemen. Now, of course, we should mention that John Gibson was ill tonight and was not even backing up Ryan Miller. So the Ducks called up Anthony Stolarz. So they're carrying 3 goaltenders there.
Was it an emergency recall?
Could have been, yeah. So the point being, though, the Ducks did not call up any other defensemen.
Yes,
correct. And the Ducks do play again this week, but not until Friday. So do you think we see Josh Manson back playing for the Ducks this week?
Potentially. I mean, it'd be earlier than I expected. I was not expecting him to be back until the new year, to be honest.
So his injury was when? That would have been October 28th?
Something like that? Something around there.
October 28th. So as of right now, we would be coming up on the 5.5 week mark. I mean, it's still early. His prognosis was 6 to 8 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So he's definitely on the earlier end, but...
Which, honestly, kind of scares me a little bit. Now, granted, I expect the Ducks to kind of do their due diligence on this, but part of me is always skeptical when I see a guy beat the prognosis, simply because I don't necessarily want a guy, especially in the season the Ducks are in and what we're kind of expecting from this year. I don't want to see a guy rush back at 60, 70% and put himself in a dangerous situation and potentially re-injure that and make it more serious. So hopefully this isn't a situation where they're rushing him back and going to throw him in the lineup if he's not 100%.
Yeah, so today actually marked the 5-week mark of Manson's absence. So if he were to come back this week, it would be a week early, or at least a few days early. Not what anyone expected. But, I mean, modern medicine, who knows? I mean, like you're saying, of course, I'm sure I don't see them rushing him back. It just wouldn't make sense. I think with the way everyone kind of understands what the season is about, what Josh Manson's important to this franchise, I would be shocked if they're just rushing him back in the lineup.
Agreed.
That wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. Weirder things have happened, but anyway, so maybe a bit of cautious optimism there. Regardless, the fact that he's back skating with the team is a positive.
Yep, 100%.
Now, we will see in the coming days what the Ducks decide to do, because there's still a bunch of time now for them to actually bring someone else up. I mean, I don't imagine them sticking with 6 defensemen, right? That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So, I mean, what do you think happens? Because I personally think Jacob Larsson might be down in San Diego for a while. Now, these things do tend to really fluctuate. Sometimes guys just get sent down for a quick assignment. But first and foremost, I guess I should just ask you, were you surprised to see Jacob Larsson sent down?
Not really. I mean, we've talked about it for a bit now that his play has just not been up to par. It hasn't been good enough. And whether you want to say that's because of Corbin Holzer, which very much as we get into tonight's game might be the case.
Or was also bad next to Lindholm.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that maybe some time in the AHL will do him some good. Maybe he just is a bottom pairing NHLer and that's all he is. But I think the idea of setting him down to play top minutes and kind of refocus his game isn't necessarily a bad idea, because I think we sometimes forget how old Jacob Larsson is. He's only 22.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as if he's a finished product at this point. There is still a little bit of time for growth in his game. How much growth will actually happen, that's up for debate. But he is only 22, and usually peak performance for defenders start, I think, at 25, 26, something around there. Correct me if I'm wrong.
He's going to be 23 at the end of this season, and I think the only thing that's concerning with him is that there's no real obvious progress. It's hard to really pinpoint, okay, what has improved in his game. Maybe he's gotten a little stronger. Maybe he's a little quicker, but the reads coming out of the zone are still a problem. He hasn't really added much of any offensive element to his game, which is an area where he could easily, I think, add a little bit. Look at Eric Branson making himself relevant offensively by just shooting the puck a ton. Yeah. So there's ways to do that. So my issue with him isn't so much, whether or not he'll become an NHL player. There's still time for that. But if he can't even be a third pairing guy at this point, it's just tough. It's just tough. But hey, I mean, I think him being drafted in the first round and with the injuries that he's had, I think that we may just have to dial back those expectations for the time being, because I don't think he's no longer a guy. I guess at 27th overall, you shouldn't expect a whole lot, but he's no longer a guy that people should be holding their breath waiting for him to become a top 4 defenseman. If it happens, great, good for him, good for the fan base, but I think expectations should be severely tempered until that time.
Here's an interesting thing. We'll get into this pairing once we get into the game a bit more, but Brendan Guhle had a rough night tonight. Do you think that if he continues to play like he did tonight, do you think we could see him sent down and Larsson called up, or potentially even someone else called up? Because, I mean, when Manson comes back, the defense is going to be Fowler, Lindholm, Goodbranson, Holzer, Delzato, Guhle, Manson. Realistically, I could see them sitting Guhle on an everyday night to have, or every game to have Delzato. I mean, they ran out Delzato, Holzer a bunch this season as the third pairing. I could realistically see them doing that with Goodbranson, Fowler, Lindholm, Manson, Holzer, Delzato. So, and I don't foresee them wanting to have Brendan Guhle being the 7th defenseman. So what do? Maybe it becomes a situation where they just have Larsson up and he just becomes part of the rotating crew for the third pair.
Well, yeah, I mean, that is quite possible. And on the topic of Brendan Guhle, because I think he's in an interesting spot right now as well, where if you look at kind of his arc right now, he's still struggling, right? Yep. On that third pairing. He's spent a little time in San Diego this season. And part of me wonders if the fact that he's still in this lineup, still getting minutes, because if you compare him and Jacob Larsson this season, I mean,
I think Larsson's been honestly probably better than Guhle to us. I think Guhle's highs have been higher than Larsson.
Yeah, Guhle does more stuff that you notice.
Yeah.
So, AKA carrying the puck up, getting shots, that type of thing. And so that's why I think Guhle is still the safer bet to be a better NHL player. But I think part of the reason that Guhle is still up with the team, to your point that, hey, maybe the comparison isn't quite there, or, it's closer than we think, is that they traded for Brendan Guhle. There is an impetus for that to work out, right? I mean, Jacob Larsson was drafted now 4 years ago, and I don't know if there's as much pressure to make it work like there once was. But with Brendan Guhle, they gave up Brandon Montour to get him. And look, we've all had our little spiels about Brandon Montour, but that's still a significant piece.
Yeah.
And so I think that there's definitely a desire to make that work. And I wonder if it was all up to Dallas Eakins, where would Brendan Guhle factor in this lineup? I think Dallas Eakins likes Brendan Guhle. He's talked glowingly of him, but it's just something to consider, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the pick that the Ducks got out of that Montour trade turned into Braden Tracy.
Yeah, so there's kind of a fair amount of things at play with that trade. And we actually have a question on Brady Tracy that we'll get to later.
Yeah, we'll definitely get into that. So we're just going to use this opportunity here to get into our first break. And on the other side, we're going to give you the recap for tonight's Kings-Ducks matchup. Okay, back from the first break. So we've kind of covered all the scuttlebutt before going to tonight's game. Now let's get into the actual recap. So 5 minutes into the game, Derek Grant, he of the 8 goals on the season, just opens it up with a real solid play along the board, some Carter Rowney. He gets it back to Nic Deslauriers, who I thought had his best game as a Duck tonight.
Yeah.
Is that crazy to say?
No, I mean,
Nic Deslauriers looked good.
You look at expected goals on the night, he led the Ducks in expected goals, individual expected goals, with .48 individual expected goals in all situations.
Nic Deslauriers is good.
I mean, the fourth line had 2 guys in the .4s. So essentially what that means is they both generated on a whole chances that would have resulted in a cumulative 40% chance of scoring. The next closest was Jakob Silfverberg with 0.2, Troy Terry with 0.18. So, yeah, it's weird.
It's weird, but it's good, right?
Well, yes, this is the night. I guarantee you there are going to be people that bring it up to us that we have continually said the fourth line is bad. The fourth line is bad. Well, here they are scoring 3 goals for the Ducks in tonight's game. Tonight's game, they were actually very good. They were probably the Ducks' best line on the whole. They created the most chances they still allowed a fair amount against while they were on the ice, but if you're creating the chances that they did, then you can live with that. Here's the issue is they're not going to always create chances like they did tonight, but got to compliment when they get it. They had a really good night at creating chances for. The one thing I'd like to see from them is limiting the chances against a little bit better.
Sure. I mean, but I don't think anyone's expecting them to be aces in that department, but Nic Deslauriers gets a nice one-timer off from the point, and it hits a skate on the way to the LA net, and it just kind of pops out to Derek Grant, who's right there, immediately swipes at the puck, goes in, opens up the scoring, and that line, they continued that effort throughout the whole game, so that's certainly positive. The Ducks would get a power play halfway through the first period, and just again some nice play, drawing that penalty, just some sustained offense. And this power play, I got to be honest, I didn't think it was going much of anywhere. One thing I will say is that although the Ducks weren't necessarily dangerous overall in this 2 minutes, there was a little more purpose behind their passing. It seemed a little quicker passing, a little quicker decision-making, and this was a good example of that on this play. I mean, Rickard Rakell enters the zone, dishes it back to the point, and Hampus Lindholm, isn't really thinking too much here. He gets it, immediately dishes it over to Jakob Silfverberg, who just hammers it through the pads of Jack Campbell, and that would make it 2-0 Anaheim. So, look, overall, the Ducks power play, we know it's something that they're working on in practice, but it looked just a tiny bit better there, a tiny bit better.
We should make mention, the big news on Ducks Twitter today was the new power play units.
That's right, Derek Grant on the second unit.
Which, was he out there when the goal was scored? I think Troy Terry was in front, or at net front, and if I'm remembering correctly from the tweet from Eric Stevens, Troy Terry, I think, was on the first unit and not the one with Derek Grant. By the way, the reason why I was slightly distracted, I just went to Twitter. NM Baseball has already screenshotted the clip of you for Pi.
Dang.
FYI, from YouTube.
Now I know how Babcock felt when the Marner story came out.
Yeah.
This isn't good.
Called out. I'll find the tweet really quickly though.
But by the way, I mean, getting back to what we're actually talking about, Derek Grant was not on the ice for this goal.
So here we go. The two power play units, at least as tweeted by Eric Stevens earlier today, were Fowler, Getzlaf, Henrique, Terry, Shore on the first unit. Second unit was going to be Lindholm, Rakell, Steele, Silfverberg, Grant. So maybe it was mid-change and Grant came off for Terry, or Terry hadn't come off the ice yet for Grant. Not quite sure.
Yeah, I mean, this really nice one-timer from Jakob Silfverberg has somehow turned into Troy Terry and Derek Grant.
Well,
not too sure how that happened.
It was mainly because the fact that Derek Grant, it was the big talk, the fact that he was on the power play, and so I was curious if he was out there for the goal.
Yes, but focusing on this goal, that's now Silfverberg's 10th goal of the season, and I mean, I think he's been Anaheim's best player. Talk me out of that. Talk me out of
two players that probably have been better than him. Rickard Rakell. Rickard Rakell has actually been...
Has Rickard Rakell been better?
Yes.
Like significantly better?
Yes. He is top 10 in the league. I think I saw this. Don't quote me on this. He was like top 10 in the league in individual expected goals per 60.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Rickard Rakell has been very good, but I think Silfverberg's overall impact has been a bit higher.
Ooh, I just think Rickard Rakell, granted, I mean, it's hard to separate the two because they've played together so much this season, but I think Rakell has been more impactful for the Ducks. He's taken more high danger chances. He's just maybe been a little bit unlucky as compared to Silfverberg shooting at the percentage that he's been shooting at for most of the year.
Yeah, I mean, I just, again, I'm not trying to take anything away from Rakell. I just think Silfverberg, part of the reason that Rakell is getting all those chances is because Silfverberg is just so good at winning battles, getting the puck up ice. he just does all that dirty work that I think is allowing Rakell to flourish, because we've seen Silfverberg be this good at 5-on-5, and so I'm willing to believe that he's kind of the one that's driving the bus here.
Rakell has also seen granted, Ryan Getzlaf, but he's seen benefits away from Jakob Silfverberg and been able to score. And what do you have? He had
playing with Ryan Getzlaf.
Yeah, that's still
that's a tough assignment.
But
still, Hall of Famer.
If you're
Rickard Rakell.
If you're crediting Jakob Silfverberg for Rickard Rakell's success, he's having success away from him also. So they have the same amount of points in the same amount of games played with 18. Rickard Rakell has one less goal. He's shooting less, or he has a lower shooting percentage, at a much more sustainable rate at 10% than the 16%.
But the thing is, I'm not asking to predict. I'm just saying who's been the best, right?
And that's kind of where it's coming in, is that I think that Rakell has been better. I think Silfverberg's gotten a little bit luckier.
Man, that crusade about eliminating the word luck, it's going strong here. Going strong here.
I knew at some point that I was going to get that called out.
You said 2 guys have been better than Silfverberg. Now I'm curious to hear who the other guy would be.
Okay, this one's a stretch, and I fully admit it's a stretch. And now I'm backtracking on it because I don't think he's actually been better than Silfverberg.
Is it Derek Grant?
Oh, sorry.
It's okay to say Derek Grant.
No, never mind. Backtracking. This person has been better than Jakob Silfverberg. Ryan Getzlaf.
Okay.
That was not the person I was going to say, but a person who I think has been underrated by a big part of the Ducks fan base, who has been one of the best Ducks forwards, and this was what I kind of wanted to say, is Nick Ritchie.
Wait. So hold on. So Getzlaf is better than Silfverberg.
Nick Ritchie has had a great season so far and has been one of the most important Ducks.
I think if you were to put Anaheim's top 4 forwards this season, I think Silfverberg, Rakell, Getzlaf are in that mix.
Yep.
I think you have to put those 3. And then number 4,
I think it's Nick Ritchie.
Well, what about Adam Henrique? Because Adam Henrique has been very good as well.
Adam Henrique has been very good. I think Nick Ritchie's been better.
Okay. Well, why don't we do this? Listeners, tell us what you think. Because I think there's a lot of arguments to be made.
Here, let me make the argument, because I know people are going to come at me for the Nick Ritchie. So I'm not saying I was backtracking on that. I was going... I realized
as you do.
I realized what I was gonna say was bad.
Oh, man,
and that was why I didn't say it.
I'm loving our Twitch chat right now. So this one from Lockdown Late Night. WTF? I want what Jake is smoking.
Okay.
It's a clue with the clown emoji, which is now just like a badge of honor in 2019.
Okay.
Literate gal with the boo. This is great. I'm loving this.
Now you know how it feels, or now you know how it feels to be on my side usually. Okay.
Yeah, no, this is great. I'm definitely kind of milking this for what it's worth, by the way.
Okay, so here we go. Top 3 centers or top 3 forwards are Getzlaf, Silfverberg, Rakell. I don't think there's any debate in that, honestly. I think that those are the 3. I do think that it's the 4th one. I think that Nick Ritchie is right there, because you look at the numbers he's put up, the amount of high danger shots, the amount of everything he's been producing for this team, the benefit of the team being with him on the ice. The only kind of thing that you can say about him is the penalty minutes, because that is the big thing for him, the 54 penalty minutes, and it's negatively impacted the team. But there's an argument to be made for Nick Ritchie being that the 4th best forward on the team.
I would still give it to Adam Henrique, but
yeah.
I mean, Nick Ritchie has been quite good. I'm not disputing that at all.
Would you like to help me out here and go on this limb with me?
No, I can't solidly say he's been the 4th best.
Fine.
I mean, if it was like a 4A, 4B, if we're talking about overall players, though, I think I would probably give Cam Fowler that 4th spot.
Yeah, probably.
He's been their best defenseman. He's been productive. I mean, he's kind of just checking all the boxes.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that was kind of a fun little tangent.
Yeah,
definitely wasn't at all related to tonight's game, but it was fun.
I'm going to open up the hood a little bit for people. Sometimes something comes into your head and you have to really think it through before you say it, which is what I just did. Because I was going to say something dumb and then didn't.
Is this more backtracking?
Maybe. Who knows?
Yeah, it's okay. You see, the thing is, you just got to be the captain who goes down with the ship.
That's your advice?
That's yeah.
That's your pie advice? You're backtracking on your pie?
That's my pie in the sky advice. But yeah, so getting back to this recap, second period, Curtis McDermott who I'm sure a lot of Ducks fans remember as being the one who concussed Andre Kasha to start last season, gets the puck back at the point and just kind of throws it on net. Somehow it finds its way through a crowd. Really no chance for Ryan Miller there. And then moving ahead, Carter Rowney with a nice play here, just putting on the brakes in the corner, feeding it back to the point. Del Zotto gets it over to Hampus Lindholm, who dishes maybe one of the prettiest passes we've seen all this season.
Yeah.
Lindholm has it in the left circle, and he sends it through two sets of legs, somehow gets to Carter Rowney behind that crowd, and then Rowney has a wide open cage to shoot into. So that would make it 3-1 Anaheim. And so, I mean, at that point, it's feeling like the Ducks are in control, but this is, I think, to me, the 3-1 mark is where we saw the Kings start to elevate a little bit and start to really push the Ducks and really dictate play. And you saw that with just over 8 minutes left. Nikolai Prokhorkin, sorry. I don't know. That's a tough one for me. I'm just going to do like Lisa Dillman and just call him Pro.
Yeah, there you go. That was Yeah, the defense looked awful on that play.
That was good. But yes, so this was just absolutely terrible. But this is what I was referring to earlier in the show, where the Kings do look for transition plays, and I think they actually kind of do so more than the Ducks do. I mean, this is just kind of a simple play, but you see Prokhorkin just dipping through that coverage, and then a nice feed to find him there. And of course, Gooley and Holzer just totally unprepared for this play. I think the Ducks may have been mid-change or they just had new forwards coming on. Regardless, they were both caught flat-footed. He's able to just bust through the coverage, comes in all alone on Ryan Miller, goes forehand, backhand. Really nothing that Ryan Miller could do there. And just another example in a long, expanding list of how Gooley and Holzer probably shouldn't be together. And I get that it was the end of a penalty kill, but even still, like this is just a rough one to watch.
Yeah, it was not great. Also, I mean, it was a very, very long penalty kill because the Ducks actually took a penalty.
Yeah.
To make it a 5-on-3 for a little bit of time, but
which we should get into, by the way. Erik Goodbranson saving a goal.
Yes.
So a shot goes on the Anaheim net. Erik Goodbranson skates back and basically bats the puck out of the air, saving a goal because the puck was going to go in. And to kind of stop himself, he knocks the net off. Also, does the puck actually go out of play?
No.
Okay.
And
it kind of hits like the top of the glass.
The Ducks broadcast crew was reaching, trying to find something that would make sense to them a bit. But if you watch the play, you can see that the referee is just staring at Goodbranson. In order for him to make the call of the puck going over the glass, he has to be able to track the puck going over the glass. He's staring at the net the entire time.
Yeah,
so
context clues.
Yeah. So you see him like that. He definitely called a delay of game for Goodbranson shoving the net off. And he probably viewed it as Goodbranson getting the puck, running the net, and then you can see Goodbranson's arms extend forward. You could debate whether it was momentum that took it off, which it probably was, but the ref saw the arms go forward, thought it was delay of game. Goodbranson gets a penalty for it, but that's a penalty I think you're willing to take for it saving a goal.
Right, absolutely. I mean, I just thought it was funny that there were potentially two penalties on the play, but the ref was just staring at one of them.
Well, here's a interesting thing. Would the second penalty have been allowed to be called? Because technically the whistle was blown when the net came off. So the puck wouldn't...
I have no idea.
Because the puck wouldn't have gone over the glass prior to the whistle being blown.
This is dipping into an area of the game I don't really... Let's just say I don't track it as much. But yeah, moving on to the third period here. So, I mean, this is where the Ducks really, I thought, sat back. And, I mean, it's to be expected, I guess, because the Kings are a better 5-on-5 team than I think people might realize. They're top 5 in the NHL in both shot attempts and expected goals. So this is not, they're not nearly as bad as their record indicates. Now, they dominated the second period. The Ducks did push back towards the end of the third to kind of try to even things up. But overall, this was mainly the Kings just controlling play. And then things just got crazy in about the last, I'd say, 7 minutes, where both teams just started trading chances, and the Ducks managed to hold on just enough. Derek Grant at first fails to clear the zone, puzzlingly tries to make a pass as opposed to just taking the open ice in front of him, but then eventually he gets the puck back just seconds later and is able to shoot it into the empty net. So that would make it 4-2 Anaheim. That would end the game. So that was a fun one. Fun game. Much more enjoyable to follow than the matinee affair on Friday.
Yeah. It was definitely more fun than that matinee affair. Came up with the big 4-2 win. Also, I just realized, crap, the score that I have on our Twitch stream is incorrect. I have it as 3-2. I had not given Derek Grant the credit for the empty net goal.
Yeah, how dare you? You just hate Derek Grant. I think that's the conclusion here.
Sure. Let's go with that. Now it's fixed. No one corrected me on it, though.
Yeah, even more shameful, I guess. I think that's we're just going to throw the blame out to everyone else. That seems smart.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, some larger takeaways from this game. I thought that overall, the fourth line, this was their best game of the season. I mean, you get 3 goals from that line. You get just some good sustained play. I mean, they check all the boxes. This is what you want out of a fourth line. I thought that Richie, Kasha, and Henrique looked decent together. This was not a vintage performance per se, but they had some really solid shifts. It's interesting because their numbers aren't quite so glowing, but I thought that they did a good job of when the Kings wanted to break open the play a little bit. They did a good job of just cycling it down low.
Yeah.
Getting pucks, kind of playing caveman hockey. You know, it's not pretty, but it's just the other team isn't able to do what they want to do. And I thought Nick Ritchie really led that charge. I thought he was one of the Ducks' best players tonight. I mean, he had a couple of plays. There was especially one in the third period where he just dashed up the ice, just completely broke through everyone. I mean, I've never seen him skate like that up ice before. So clearly there's some improvement in his game. I thought he was just really good. So that line was decent. Shore, Getzlaf, and Terry, I didn't think that they were ultra noticeable in the third period. Troy Terry had a couple nice moves to get into the slot. I thought he had a couple nice chances. And then that line of Ricard, Raquel, Sam Steele, and Jakob Silfverberg, numbers not so good. What did you think of them watching that line, though?
It really felt like they weren't really able to get into the zone. I mean, outside of really, it seemed like the first shift of the game where Raquel comes in and is able to get a big hit on the Kings defenseman and create a pretty good chance off of that.
That was a great tone-setting play.
Yeah, but outside of that, they weren't really able to generate really anything. They had some shifts where they were controlling the puck and cycling, but they didn't really get any shots from it.
Mm-hmm.
It was really kind of stagnant. I mean, it's pretty obvious that the Grant, Rowney, Deslauriers line, like we said, was the best line for them tonight. I mean, you look at the totals on the night; they produced the most chances for the. They didn't have that many chances against. I'm
very shocked that you would say that. Not because I think you're wrong or whatever, but because the Shore Getzlaf Terry line had some really good numbers. And
correct.
I'm surprised you're not hitching your wagon to that.
They are 100% expected goals for percentage on the night. Here's the issue with that: the actual numbers are 0.2 expected goals for and 0 expected goals against. So it's not as if they had a lot of chances for and created a bunch of shot attempts, although they did have, I think it was 12 shot attempts for on the night. So they did a decent job there, but it's really a situation where they just weren't on the ice for any dangerous chances against, and it's not as if they really created that many dangerous chances for. Now, granted, that's important if they're on the ice and not having anything really go against them.
Right.
But it's not as big of an impact as 100% expected goals for tends to show. It would be almost in,
it wasn't a dominant performance.
Well, there are the charts that like Sean Tierney puts out with the good, bad, dull, all those different things. This is kind of, even though yes, it's 100%, it's almost more on kind of the dull side of everything. It's more towards the middle. It's not exactly on the good.
Right. Well, hopefully on the other side of our second break, we'll give you some good analysis. We will be right back. Okay, back from the second break. So last thing I wanted to say, just looking at the lines, I am curious to see. I want to see one more game with Sam Steele between Rickard Rakell and Jakob Silfverberg because it's something we saw in the preseason.
Yeah. And we saw last year also.
Yeah, but I mean, my issue is that this is not a typical game, a typical stat line from Rickard Rakell and Jakob Silfverberg.
True.
This is not the norm at all this season. And what's the new element? Well, the new element is Sam Steele. And so, again, this is just one game. But if you look at who they were playing against tonight, a lot of Kopitar, right? A lot of that line, a lot of some of the better players on the Kings. And so I'm just curious to see how that will hold up. I really do hope that Dallas Eakins gives them another game. I'm not holding my breath at all because I may just I may not make it through that if I'm hoping that he keeps the lines together game to game. But we'll see, because I do want to see what Sam Steele can do in a bit of an elevated role, because, again, that just makes your life so much easier if you're Dallas Eakins, because then you can put Adam Henrique on a third line or on a middle six line with Richie and Kasha, and then you can kind of move around Ryan Getzlaf as you see fit. So, yeah, I think overall, there's some things to be a little concerned with this game. Just the general, just in general, the fact that they were a bit outplayed throughout stretches of this.
Yeah.
But at this point, I think a lot of this analysis, though, is kind of, it's a bit overshadowed because we have this notion that the Kings are this terrible team and that the Ducks should probably be outplaying them. But again, by the numbers, the Kings are one of the better teams in the league. So if you then accept that fact and you look at this again, this is a decent performance from the Ducks.
Well, yeah, that's actually a fair point, and one that I hadn't fully wrapped my head around yet. But yeah, I mean, especially from the midway through the second period on, the Kings were really kind of controlling play and controlling chances. And if you look at different various expected goals chart, and it makes sense with kind of what you see on the ice. The Kings were just continually getting flurry upon flurry of chances, and now none of them were that great, but they were continually getting them, and eventually one of them's gonna find a way in more than likely. And the Ducks, I mean, this is something we haven't really talked about. Ryan Miller had a really strong game for the Ducks tonight, and is a big reason why the Ducks won this game. Because yes, the final score is 4-2, but this was a 3-2 game for about half of the game, with the Ducks kind of holding on at various points in time. And Ryan Miller really had to come up big. And
he did, yeah, for sure.
And it was, like I said, it wasn't as if he had to make any outstanding, any kind of 10-bell type save, like any type of acrobatic, anything like that, but he just was consistently in the right spot. And unlike the Tampa game, which granted, I don't know how much you can fully blame him on, but his rebound control was on par tonight. And it was not in where it was at against Tampa. Everything was staying in front of him. Everything was staying controlled. And so just as a reference for everyone, expected goals against at 5-on-5 per natural stat trick tonight is 3.03. And so he only allowed 2 goals against. So basically you throw an average goalie in net, this would have been a tie game at least.
Yeah, no, I think that with Ryan Miller, this wasn't, again, like you said, he didn't really have to compromise himself. He didn't have to make those crazy saves, but that's a positive. I mean, overall, that I believe that's a positive that he didn't have to do that. And, this is a performance that he needed just in terms of feeling good about his game after what was probably one of the worst games he's had with the Ducks, period. That game against Tampa Bay a little while back now. So, yeah, overall, I think there's a lot of positive to take away from tonight's performance for the Ducks. Any final thoughts, any closing thoughts that you have here?
One last thing maybe. Devin Shore, what do you think about him? He jumped back into the game, or jumped back into the lineup?
Replaced Max Jones?
Yes. Did you think he was better than Max Jones?
No.
Agreed.
I didn't think he was better than Max Jones. I thought he was fine. I thought he had a couple nice rushes up the ice, but really, Devin Shore is just one of those classic guys that's not a bad player by any means, but doesn't have that one standout skill. He's not really an offensive guy, a shooter. He just doesn't have that one thing that keeps him in the lineup. And I think that right now you're just seeing that solid overall, but again, nothing just really spectacular. And so with Max Jones, on the other hand, again, he's maybe definitely not a spectacular player, but He's a guy who just shoots the puck a ton. He creates offense. You know what you're getting from Max Jones, even at such a young age, which I think makes that even more impressive. So, I mean, there's really no harm in kind of rotating that, seeing what you can get from Devon Shore. And maybe there's also just a kind of this notion with Dallas Eakins that he doesn't want 2 rookies on a line with Ryan Getzlaf. But I actually think that line would be a lot better if Jones was there instead of Shore. And
I 100% agree with that.
Now, we were definitely singing Shore's praises to start the season, and I think that in the long run, is he better than, say, a Nic Deslauriers on that fourth line?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Probably.
More than likely.
More than likely. There we go. We're really digging into the bag here of just conditional language.
Exactly.
But another random fact. This is just something that I love. It's just totally random, but it's just odd to me. Derek Grant was a higher draft pick than Troy Terry, 119th overall in the 4th round in 2008. Troy Terry was the 148th pick in the 5th round in 2015. Would you have ever guessed that?
No. I mean, Troy Terry's also kind of defied odds by getting to where he's at with the draft, with where his kind of draft profile even was.
So Grant is now just meeting expectations. This is who we thought he was all along.
No,
who we thought he could be.
No, but I think Troy Terry has a higher draft profile, or at this point in time, higher expectations.
Yeah, no, I mean, Troy Terry's just a totally different player, but yeah. I just found that funny that there was that discrepancy. Okay, do you want to get into some listener questions? Do we have any?
Yep, we've got a few. So, for those of you in the Twitch chat, I see it's a clues question, but if anyone else has questions, please throw them into the Twitch chat. If you throw a question at the front of it, that just kind of makes it easier for me to identify. But for those of you watching the recorded version of this on YouTube, yes, we do this show on YouTube. If you want to find us, search for the AC Pod on there. You can hit that subscribe button where Felix is pointing, and you can hit that bell, and you'll get notified anytime that we post a video on there. So essentially, anytime we get done with this podcast, we'll upload the video. You can watch it on delay. You can highlight things that Felix says.
Highlighting is very good.
Highlighting them so that Felix can be reminded of his the horrible things he said. And if you want to like them, like the videos. If you want to comment there, I'll read through the comments after the fact. But yep, and then we also have the recorded version on all your favorite podcast services. But the real fun thing is that we do a live stream of this show each and every time at twitch.tv/acpod, where you can help support the show in a way that's completely free to you. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free Twitch Prime sub each and every month. You do have to hit that subscribe button every 30 days. So hit that button above Felix's head if you have not in the last 30 days to help support this channel, and it's completely free to you. So, real quick, what are you laughing about over there?
Well, we got a good listener review on Apple Podcasts.
We did. We will get to that.
We'll get to that. It was a good one. It was a good one. It agreed with something that's near and dear to my heart. So anyway.
I'm terrified, but okay.
We'll carry on. We'll carry on here.
Lockdown Late Night, by the way, I do want to say Lockdown Late Night resubbed for 8 months, and he says he's giving money to us to one day see them both naked on the ice.
Wow.
Yeah.
I would never want to see that.
No, you don't want to see that.
I thought that would go in the drunk pod direction, but it didn't.
No,
so.
it did not. So, sorry, Justin. Sorry, not going to happen.
God.
All right, so let's get to this question from It's a Clue. Said, Felix and Jake, who would you like to see get called up from the goals that hasn't already played in the NHL this year? I want to know what prospect you guys are high on right now.
Well, let's hear it.
Well, it's hard not to just bring up Daniel Sprong because his numbers are really good. And we've talked about Kiefer Sherwood to death at certain points in time.
Maybe more than is even warranted.
Yeah. But, I mean, it has to be one of those two, especially Daniel Sprong. I mean, you look at that guy, he kind of would do exactly what they would need on the power play by just giving them a trigger man, giving them a guy that's going to shoot. And even at 5-on-5, yes, there are flaws to his game. Yes, there are things that he does not do great in his own zone. But you can do things to shelter that, to put him in a good position to succeed, and basically maximize his impact on the game. And so, having said that, I do want to briefly bring up trying to get the stats up for this season. But I believe Kiefer Sherwood has had a ridiculous season. Yeah, Sherwood has 13 points in 14 games. Sprong has 13 points in 18 games. Sherwood has 6 goals. Sprong has 5 goals. Maybe I guess a guy that honestly
but here's the thing though, just to quickly add on. Kiefer Sherwood has 6 goals in 14 games on 35 shots.
Yeah. True.
Daniel Sprong has 61 shots. He has almost double what Sherwood. I mean, it's insane how much he's shooting.
He is shooting the puck a lot.
Yeah. Just wanted to throw that in.
One guy that maybe should get a look if they want to leave the kids on the blue line down in the AHL, that would be potentially
I know where this is going.
Good for the power play. Chris Weidman. No?
Okay. Let's hear it. I mean, you have to make a case. You
All
can't
right.
just
So here's
names.
the case. The Ducks power play has been lacking, to say the least. Mm-hmm. Chris Weidman.
What about Yanni Hakanpää?
One of the things, I'm just completely ignoring you at this point. One of the things Chris Weidman has done well throughout his career is be a point producer on the power play. And he's done that in the AHL this year. And I'm trying to bring up his career stats from previous spots. But on this season for the San Diego Gulls, he currently has 15 points in 17 games. Second on the team in points. He has 4 power play goals. He shot the puck more than Kiefer Sherwood has.
Yeah.
And
I mean, it's an interesting thing to consider because he kind of checks all the boxes of things that they would potentially need right now. Because I believe he's a right shot as well.
Yeah.
He is. So, I mean, between Chris Weidman and Corbinian Holzer, I'm just trying to think I think the drawback with Weidman and the reason he hasn't really cracked the NHL is because he's 5'10". I mean, is there any other explanation? He's had really productive seasons in the AHL.
Yeah, I don't really know. I'm trying to look it up right now. So Weidman, over the course of his NHL career, between stints in Ottawa and Edmonton, 5 games in Edmonton and 1 game in Florida, he has 45 points in 181 games. Just as for reference, Corbinian Holzer has played 180 games and only has 24 points. So not saying that points are the be-all, end-all, but if you're looking for a guy to potentially jumpstart some offense, maybe that's someone who could help. Yeah,
and the season in Ottawa, so his one true NHL season, I mean, he did play 64 games in Ottawa in 2015-16, but the season in 2016-17, where he had 17 points in 76 games, he was also above break even in terms of shot attempts, 52.5%. He has shown like that sample alone is worth more than everything we've seen in the last 3 years of Corbin and Holzer. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, granted, that was a little while ago now. And, Chris Weidman hasn't really been in the NHL since about 2016-17. But, I mean, again, with how mightily that third pairing has struggled, I don't understand why they just... I mean, they're putting Derek Grant on the power play. What's wrong with calling up Chris Weidman?
Piggy 7 SWAT adds in, Weidman leads the AHL in defenseman goals.
There you go.
Are we gonna have to build a case for Chris Weidman to be called up?
Yeah, time to write the Chris Weidman article. There you go.
There's the next article for Felix coming to you soon at the 4th period.
There you go. Boom.
All right. Lewis X209 asked us, was this the fourth line's best game of the season?
Yes.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ginger Wolf asked us, off-topic question, is Kessler 100% done?
Yeah.
Well,
I don't think we're going to see him play again.
I don't know if I'd say 100%, but I'd say 99.99%.
See, that's just the coward's way out. If you go what is the 0.01 or the 0.1? What is the thing that could possibly be keeping you from 100%?
The fact that they did not completely rule him out this past summer and said we'll reevaluate and see where he's at after summer he could come back. This
is a nudge wink wink situation. That's all I'll say.
Okay.
That's all I'll say.
I like I said 99.99.
Cowardly.
Sure. Fine. 99.9.
Oh God. Okay.
9.
Next question.
Bonnie asked us, why does Holzer get love?
Who gives him love? Well, besides Dallas Eakins, clearly, by playing him all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, he's a taller defenseman who's somewhat physical, somewhat gritty. You know, he kind of does those things, and he can look like a workable third pairing defenseman. He has these rare moments where that happens, but I don't know. And he just seems like, I just think he's a nice guy. I think that there's also that. People seem to really like him, and maybe they just like having him around. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with getting opportunities because you're just nice to people.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, we should be promoting that.
All right. So we got this tweet from McQuinnan. Said, and so if anyone has more questions, throw them in the Twitch chat. We will try to get to them. But I did want to mention this. Says, I don't know if this will make it to the questions portion, but it is. Thank you. But Braden Tracy being left off Team Canada's World Junior roster seems like a snub, given he has been awesome as a sophomore in the WHL and in a draft plus one season.
Yeah, well, he's also missed like half the season in the OHL.
I think that's well, he's not in the OHL, he's in the WHL.
Or sorry, still. WHL. Yeah, I think that's the biggest reason why, because he's having a great year. To be fair, there's a lot of competition.
Yeah.
You know, just because there's a lot of guys in the Canadian Hockey League that are having great seasons, and I'm sure that there's a long list of guys who could have made this team that didn't. So this isn't like, you know, we're not talking about Team Slovenia here or something, right?
Yeah.
And so, I think it's a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
Yeah, I mean, Quinton Byfield and Lafreniere, who are going to go 1-2, are both on this Team Canada, going to be on this Team Canada team. There's a lot of competition to be on the roster. Trevor Zegras, or not Trevor, who is it? Dylan Cousins, sorry. Trevor Zegras probably will be on Team USA.
Yeah, I was going to say, unless he changed citizenship somehow.
All right, so
Lockdown Late Night had a question. Do you see Max Jones getting more refined over the next few seasons? Yes. I mean, he's already shown signs of improvement with his stick handling, with his decision making. So, yeah, I see him trending up.
Yep. My apologies for missing that question. Slipped through the cracks. I agree. I think he's going to get more refined as it goes along. Guys tend to kind of be able to build into their game and kind of mature a bit with that. Jay Northcott 22 asked us, does Felix Sicard still want Derek Grant scratched? Asking for a friend.
I mean, I never wanted him scratched. I was just saying this seems to be the best decision to make at this point in time. But he's playing better as of late. So.
In your defense, I did back you up on that opinion.
You did. So you share. You share in the misery here.
It's a clue. Said, is Jack Opaka going to become a regular NHL player? I would say doubtful, to be honest.
Depends if you ask John Broadbent or not at Anaheim Calling.
He has 7 points in 17.
If you ask John, the answer will be yes. Jack Opaka will one day win the Hart Trophy.
John does love Jack.
I mean, hey, fair. Like if it works out, he will. I don't even know what we'll owe him, but getting it right on that one, that would be
everything.
Something. We'll just owe him the world. Yeah. Although, just to point out here, Jack Opaka 7 points in 17 games this season, a -5 down in San Diego. So I don't know, just saying.
7 points in 17 games, and especially for a guy that came in supposedly as a goal scorer, that was
3 goals.
3
goals in 17 games.
3 goals. D_F_T_N asked us, if not Grant / fourth line, who should Eakins be matching against opposing top lines? I mean, I've long said do away with line matching.
Yeah.
Matchups are meant for D pairs. Don't worry about your forwards. Just throw them out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, agreed.
Let's end with this question from Bonnie. Said, which Ducks players have finesse?
Finesse. Great word. Well, I think Rickard Rakell probably. I mean, I think he's the most skilled player on this team. I think that he's able to, because we talk a lot about Troy Terry being really skilled, but Rickard Rakell can actually show that to you in the games. And, that's not even really a slight on Troy Terry. He's just not there yet. But Rickard Rakell has developed so much confidence with the puck over the years. If you had watched him 5 years ago, he's not making these kinds of moves. So that would be my pick.
I will go because you took Rickard Rakell. I'll go with Troy Terry.
Shocker.
Might as well.
Shocker.
Might as well.
Shocktown.
Well, who else? Wait, realistically, who else would you pick outside of Rickard Rakell?
Well, okay, define finesse. Are we talking about...
Define it however you want.
I would put Cam Fowler in that mix because
that's fair.
What you will about Cam Fowler. He is a very fluid skater. He's probably one of the guys who I enjoy just watching skate up the ice more so than anyone in the league because of how refined he is. So I would put him in there as well.
Yeah. Yep. All right. I know I said that was the last question, but this is, I think, actually a good one to end with. This comes from Ginger Wolf. Could Manson, Lindholm, Fowler, Mahura, Goodbranson, and Gooley take the Ducks from a barely workable defense to a good one?
Tough. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of reshuffling that would occur there.
Would you like me to jump in here?
Well, the problem is I'm pretty sure once Manson comes back, Goodbranson is going to be solidly in the top 4.
Well, yeah, and I think that
I don't see that working out great.
It's gonna go from being a barely workable defense to a decent one. I don't know if I would classify it as good.
No, I don't. I just there's too much inexperience. There's too many guys that you're asking a lot of that just haven't been there yet.
Yeah,
and are not really. Especially with Brandon Gould, they're just not showing signs that they're. Not that they're not ready, but just that they're not going to thrive yet under these circumstances. So. I don't know.
I think that's gonna do it for the night. I do want to give a shout out to a guy, diehard 24 fan 24 from our Discord chat, in our Twitch chat also. Matt Freeman just tweeted at us that he had a very good time at the game and he can't watch because he is stuck in an Uber right now on his way home. And I know that he's traveling far. So when you watch this, Matt, hope you got home safe.
Shout out.
All right. So I think that's going to do it for us for the night. This has been a really fun one.
Yeah. Well, before we head on out, we do have a really good review. So I should quickly get into the spiel here. If you want to support the show, if you've been enjoying what you're hearing, then I'm giving you 2 avenues, which I think are really good. So you've got our Patreon page, patreon.com/acpod. So that's where for $1 a month, you'll be able to join in on our patrons only Discord chat. This is something that we do during games where we'll just kind of be going back and forth, just kind of shooting the breeze, having some good conversations about the game, some funny moments as well. So definitely for $1 a month, I think that's a lot of fun. If you're looking to enhance your in-game experience, and then for $5 a month, you still get access to that, but you also get 2 bonus episodes a month. So if you enjoy the content, if you enjoy what we do or kind of banter on here, then you're just going to get more of that with those 2 episodes because you're going to get talk about league-wide topics as well as just some fun back and forth. But another way that's totally free and that at most will take about a couple minutes of your time, if you look us up on the Apple Podcast app, you can leave a rating and a review. And this really helps the show get noticed, and it's not a long-term commitment. You just do it, like I said, a couple minutes and you're done. And we got a really good one here from Meanda Halfman. I think I got that right. Meme to Halfman. I'm not sure if I got this right. But he's from Maryland. Title of his review is Maryland Fan here. 5-star review. He's saying, I'm a Ducks fan living in Maryland. There aren't many fans here who remember when the Baltimore Bandits were the AHL affiliate of the Ducks, and there are probably even fewer who care. Wow, that's... It's nice to feel a sense of community with the Ducks fan base while living here in Caps country. I appreciate the analytical approach and the guys' willingness to compare and contrast this approach with the eye test when discussing more subjective aspects of hockey. I also agree that French fries tend to not be good. Tend in all caps.
I was trying to figure out what you were talking about with that review, and now it makes sense.
Well, first and foremost, thank you so much for that review.
Thank you.
Halfman, because that is just great stuff. I mean, believe me, I live with a roommate who's a Caps fan, so I feel your pain there. even though I don't live in Maryland, although you do have the Baltimore Ravens, so that seems like a good trade-off. But, I mean, come on. French fries. There's a lot of bad French fries out there. I'm just saying. Jake's just ignoring me. That's fine. They're also great French fries. Don't take this as I don't like French fries. I don't want to get another hailstorm of tweets again. I don't need that in my life, okay? I'm all positive around here. But anyway, thank you very much. And as you see, if you leave a review, we'll read it on the show, and we'll have a fun little back and forth. Couple of different ways also to check out the show. Check us out on YouTube. Jake went over that already, but if you're liking the content, I like that phrase, liking the content, then you can subscribe on there and also hit that bell icon so that you get notified whenever the show goes up. In addition to that, you can also check us out on Spotify and Stitcher. Make sure to check out AnaheimCalling.com. It's also at Anaheim Calling on Twitter. Jake is on Twitter at RandyRGames91. I think that there's an article in the works.
There is one in the works.
I'm teasing it now. I don't want to, put the cart before the horse.
Last podcast, I threw it out there. I now need to deliver on that this weekend.
We're putting you on the spot a little bit, as we do. I'm on Twitter as well, at Felix_Sicard. I will have another article up this week about the Ducks blue line. I don't know if it's going to be all about Chris Weidman, but hell, it might be at this point.
Seriously, I would read it. Let's go with that. Real quick,
There we go.
By the way, before we keep jumping in, Matt Freeman, diehard24 fan 24, jumped in and gave us a nice little tip of 410 bits. So it's been a while since we've gotten some bits.
Thank you, diehard fan
24. We greatly appreciate that. So thanks, Matt.
Thank you. So with all of that being said, that is going to do it for our show tonight. Thank you to everyone for tuning in live, for listening wherever you are right now, on your commute, wherever you are, or like Jake at work. Oh, sorry, I'm not supposed to say that out loud. So
you
that
don't
will
listen
do
to
it.
podcasts at work?
I don't.
It's a normal thing. It's a very normal thing.
Well, then great. I encourage everyone to listen on their job. That's what you should be doing. Okay, we need to get out of here. Thanks for listening, everyone, and we will talk to you at the next game.
Bye.